Hi guys. Okay, so tonight or actually today, tonight, you're going to go over solving equations. And last week you all did one-step equations. Today we're adding one step and we're making it a two-step equation. So it's still an 8th grade standard. So your objective will be to use inverse operations to solve two-step equations. That means we're going one step further than we were before. So pause the video and write down your standard that you'll be working on. So your objective is you should be writing your objective down. I'm writing Cricket, sorry. Use inverse operations to solve two-step equations. Make sure you get this written down as your objective for tonight's lesson. Your title should be Solving Two-Step Equations. If you need more time, push pause and then resume play when you have it all written down. Alright, so next slide. So we're going to be using inverse operations. And what an inverse operation is, an operation that undoes each other, okay? So the inverse of addition is subtraction. The inverse of multiplication is division. So in this example, we have 4 plus 7, and when you add 4 and 7, you get 11. So the inverse is subtraction, starting with our answer, 11, subtracting 7, our answer is going to be 4, which is what we started with. So x plus 7 minus 7 is equal to x, right? So x minus 7 plus 7 is still equal to x. So we're just doing the inverse operation. So you have to remember, the inverse of addition is subtraction. The inverse of multiplication is division. And the reverse is true. So the inverse of subtraction is addition, and the inverse of division is subtraction. So here we have 6 times 3 is equal to 18. We start with our answer, 18 divided, which is the inverse operation, divided by 3 is 6, which is what we started with. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 3 is equal to 6. They're inverse and they undo that operation. Push pause and copy this down. Please do not go on until you have copied this down fully. Okay, so hopefully you are back and we're ready to start with some examples. Okay, so before we had 9 minus 7, or 9x is equal to something, and we were doing the one step. Or x minus 7 is equal to something, and we were just adding the one inverse. This time there's going to be two actual steps involved. So the first thing we want to do is clear out anything that is not attached to the variable. Remember, our mission is to have this variable all by itself. Now I want you to pay attention. Oh my line went crooked. Pay attention, because anytime we solve these operations, we want to make sure that we are working vertically. So that's downward, okay? We don't want to work across the page like we read. In math, we want to work vertically. So the first thing I want to do, I drew my line to make sure that I keep my sides separate, right? Is I want to look at what is not attached to the variable. 9x is attached. So I'm going to look at this minus 7. It's important that I pay attention to the sign. So the inverse operation of subtraction we said was what? Addition, right? so we're going to add 7. But we can't just do it on this side. We also have to do it to the other side to make sure that our operation is balanced, right? So when I do this, 7 minus 7, or negative 7 plus 7, it's going to give me a 0. I want to go ahead and bring down my equal sign and bring down my 0 at this point because I want us to make sure that we know that the value on this side is 0 right now. This became 0, but I'm not going to write down my minus 0 on this side because my goal is to actually eliminate this, and I did do that successfully. So I'm going to bring down my 9x. So now I have 9x is equal to 0. This says 9 times x. And what did we say the inverse operation of 9 times x of division, multiplication is? It's division, right? So I need to divide, but I have to divide both sides by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Juan is shy, so he's going to hide. We're going to bring down just our x. 0 divided by 9 is still 0. So in this case, my x is 0. Now I'm going to check it. Go ahead and do my check down here. So if x is 0, my new problem is going to say 9 times 0 minus 7 equals negative 7. So if I follow PEMDAS, I need to do my multiplying and dividing first. 9 times 0 is 0. Bring down my minus 7 is equal to negative 7. 0 doesn't have a value, so I just cross that out, and I end up with negative 7 is equal to negative 7. So that works. That solution is a good solution. X is equal to 0. Good. Now go ahead and pause and copy this down. You should have been watching only. I guess I should have said that at the beginning, huh? So watching only, when I says I do, I'm going to do it, you're going to watch, and then you're going to copy it down. When it says we do, we'll do it together, and I'll try to slow it down so that you can keep up with me. But you can always push pause if I'm going too fast. Okay, hopefully you guys copy this down like I'm asking you to, so you should have it in your notes and as some really good examples of what we're doing this week. So here we have a negative 15 is equal to negative 4 times n plus 5. I'm going to draw my line down down here. And remember, I want to move whatever is not attached to this variable. So I'm looking at this plus 5. So my inverse operation of addition is, again, subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. And here's where you guys need to, pay some attention. And make sure you're doing this with me, right? So here, this might want me to do a little column method over here. Why do my lines not come out straight on this? Column method, plus and minus, right? So this is negative 15, and this is negative 5. They are both on the negative side, which means I'm going to add them together. And I know that my answer will be a negative. So this gives me negative 20. So using column method there will help you make sure that your positives and negatives don't get confused. So positive 5 minus 5, we know that these cancel out because that was our goal. Our goal is to eliminate this 5 on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down my negative 4 times m. Now sometimes you're going to somebody's going to tell you to keep your m on the left side. Most of the time we're going to write our answers with the variable equal to something. It doesn't really matter what side your variable is on until the end of your problem. So I'm going to keep my m on this side for now. I am going to notice that this says 4 times m. So to undo this multiplication, I need to divide both sides by the number that's in front of m. And that number is negative 4. Make sure you divide by that same sign. If it was a positive 4, you would divide by positive 4. But since this is a negative 4, you're going to divide by negative 4. So negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Now remember, if I'm going too fast, pause and catch up to me. So we divided by -4 on this side. I need to make sure that we also divide by a -4 on this side. And remember that triangle? Positive, negative, negative. If I'm dividing by two negatives, here's one negative, here's two negatives, what am I left with? A positive. So this tells me that this division problem is going to give me a positive answer. So I'm going to bring down my m on this side. 20 divided by 4 is going to be what? 5, sorry. So I can say that m is equal to 5. And that's going to be my final answer right here. I'm going to box it so that when we turn in our homework, we have a nice clear boxed answer with the variable on the left side. But let's go ahead and check this just in case. So I have a -15 is equal to -4 times m. We said m is 5, so I'm going to put 5 here, and then plus 5. So let's go ahead and solve this. -15 I'm not doing anything to, but I'm going to multiply before I add. So I'm going to multiply. -4 times -5 is going to give me -20 and bring down my 5. Once again, bring down my 15, my -15. So I have a negative and a positive. We can do a t-chart over here. Plus and minus, -20, +5. 5 is smaller, so I'm going to subtract 20 from 5. That gives me 15. It's on the negative side. My answer is -15. Lovely? Great. Make sure you have all this copied down, and when you're ready, keep going. If you need to pause, go ahead and pause now. Okay, this one is a you-do. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do it. When you come into class tomorrow, I will check your work to make sure you have the correct answer. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. In the future, you'll be connecting to, I'll be including something called Edpuzzle, and I'm going to try it on this one, so if it works, great. If not, it didn't work. But you're going to answer the question on Edpuzzle, and then I'm going to verify that you actually watched the video and did this problem on your own. So I'm not going to give you the answer today. This is a you-do. Go ahead and write it in your notes, solve the problem, and we'll check it. Push pause now before you continue with the next part of the video. Make sure you have this done already. Okay, hopefully you got your answer there. I'm not giving you the answer now. Let's go ahead and look at this next section of work. Now, this, remember, now that we're in algebra, this is not just a fraction, it's also considered a division bar. And there's a guy hiding in front of this V, and we call him Juan. So I'm going to go ahead and add Juan here. And I'm also going to add the Juan to the side where it says we do, just because I want you to get comfortable with knowing there's actually a 1 in front of this variable. So we're going to start with this I do, and right now I just want you to put your pencils down and watch. So you're going to watch what I do. Okay, so this is a division problem here, and in order to undo this division, I need to use multiplication. This is a fraction, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that fraction. So instead of 1 over 4, I'm going to multiply by 4 over 1. But I'm also going to multiply by 4 over 1 on the opposite side. It's a positive 4 over 1 because of the plus sign in front of this fraction. Just draw a line. Make sure you guys include your line. What happens here is 1 cancels into 1, 4 cancels into 4. This becomes 1v. So my new problem on the left side is 2 plus v. On this side, I'm going to go ahead and make 1 a fraction. -2 a fraction. So I'm really going to only concern myself with the numerators because when my denominators are 1, I know my answer is going to be whatever my numerator answer is. So I have 4 times a negative 2. 4 a positive times a negative is going to give me a negative answer. 4 times 2 is 8. And now I have a new problem. I have negative 8 is equal to 2 plus v. Now since there's no negative sign in front of this 2, I know that this 2 is positive. So my inverse operation to move this 2, because I want that v all by itself over here, is to subtract. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides. This becomes 0, right? So my v comes down by itself. I have 2 negatives, so they're going to be a bigger negative. To show you how to do that, we'll use the column method here just to be sure. I have a negative 8 and a negative 2. When I add them together, I get a 10 on the negative side, so my answer becomes negative 10. So this is v is equal to negative 10. So let's go ahead and check it. I'm going to rewrite my problem. I have a negative 2 is equal to 2 plus, and instead of v, we're going to write negative 10 over 4. And we're going to solve this problem. To undo this division, I'm going to multiply by 4. And I'm going to multiply by 4. Okay, my 4's cancel. 4 times a negative 2 gives me a negative 8. 2 plus a negative 10. So if I'm doing my column method, right? I'll do column method here, plus and minus. I have a positive 2 and a negative 10. 2 is positive. I'm going to subtract it from 10. Gives me 8 on the negative side. So negative 8 is equal to negative 8, and that is a true statement, and that solution works. Go ahead and pause your video and copy this down. Make sure you have it all copied in your notes as a great example for when you have to do your own work at home or in classes. Okay, so next problem. Again, I have another division problem here, so I know that in order to undo this division, what do I need to do? What is the inverse operation of division? It's multiplication. So I'm going to multiply, and this is a little tricky because this 5's in the way. I'm going to multiply by 20 over 1. And that's hard to see, but I'm actually just multiplying by that, and that's going to cancel. But I'm also on this side going to multiply by 20 over 1. So I know they're both over 1, so I'm really just going to focus on my top two numbers. I have a negative and a positive, so I know my answer is going to be negative. 4 times 2 is 8, and then attach that 0. Okay. On this side, I end up with r minus 5. Everything canceled out but my variable, and then I still have a minus 5. So the opposite or inverse operation for me to undo this minus 5 and move this over to this side is to do what? What is the opposite of negative 5? Positive 5. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. This gives me r all by itself over here. And I have 80 and 5, so if I'm using my column method over here, 5 is positive, 80 is negative. I'm going to subtract it from 80. This gives me 75 in the negative column, so my answer is negative 75. I'm not going to do the check on this. It gets a little confusing, and I don't have a whole lot of room, but this is a good answer. So the last one for you to do, before we go on to the next, I want to make sure you have this copied down. When you have it all copied down, go ahead and push play and head on to the next slide. Okay. Oh, Let me move that. I don't know how that ended up there. So now I have this problem here. This is the you-do. Again, it's a division, so we need to undo it using multiplication or multiplying by the reciprocal. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys copy this down, do it on your own, and I will give you the answer tomorrow. Have a great night. Push pause if you're not finished.